All right, I am back. I actually went and did the research, found out who it was. There was one dissenter, and that was Kathleen Peters. So that means Janet Long voted for mandatory masks in Pinellas County. Pat Gerard voted for mandatory masks in Pinellas County. Charlie Justice voted against freedom in Pinellas County. Dave Eggers voted for Nazi-style restrictions in Pinellas County. Karen Williams Seel also voted for the draconian measures in Pinellas County. And Kenneth T. Welch voted for against freedom, really, in Pinellas County. I am incensed by the ridiculous nonsense that has been going on here. The idea that, listen, they do this. The thing that they have done is they have scared people, right? And I've talked to people, and people are scared. They're like, oh, I don't know. This is, it's a very scary thing. But if you look at the numbers, you look at the statistics, it is a slightly more virulent thing than normal, but just by a small amount. Like, this is just normal people dying to if it wasn't for the fact that this was literally the first year that we've experienced this particular coronavirus, it wouldn't be a big deal. It's not a big deal, and it is really all about fear. The numbers and the statistics, we could talk about that all day long, but the fact of the matter is the media has scared people. They have gotten a visceral reaction. And if you're sitting there afraid of this, I got to tell you, they have affected you. I think it's important to understand, too, that this is kind of Nazism naturally makes use of a mechanism of brainwashing that is used in torture camps, right? So one of the things that they do, this is one of the Chinese methods, right, is they'll force you to write like a little survey or a little essay about, say, like the United States is not perfect, right, which is completely true. So what this started out with was voluntary masks, right? Hey, no problem. Nobody has a problem with voluntary masks. If you want to wear a mask voluntarily, that's your thing. You're allowed to do that. If you want to wear one here, there, everywhere, we nobody cared. Nobody told you couldn't do yours. Now, a lot of these are useless, right? They're not clinical masks. They are people are like making homemade masks, putting cloths in front of their face, bandana masks, bandito masks, like everybody's doing all kinds of masks because it wasn't about medical things. It was about emotions, it was about fear, and it was about the status, right? So people were showing that they were part of the in-group by putting on these masks. So there was that. And then the mandate comes across. And they're not even mandating like medical masks. They're just mandating that you have something to put across your face. Now, this is not yet the mark of the beast, but I just want to point out that this is exactly what was prophesied in Revelation, right? In that time, they're going to require that you take a mark on your body, and without that mark, you won't be able to buy or sell. Now, this is not a permanent mark. This is a temporary thing that identifies you as a obedient little citizen, right? So you put a mask on, you identify yourself as obedient, and then you're allowed to buy and sell. It is the first step, and as they take additional steps, they are going to continuously take steps that are little steps, right? They're not going to take big steps. They're going to take incremental steps. And we know this is how people destroy freedom, incrementally, right? Because if you do it all at once, nobody will accept it. But if you do it little by little, you will get enough people to accept each step. And then you just deal with the people who won't at each step. And by separating those people out, you make it manageable, right? So the change is about manageable incremental steps. This is the 4th of July, people. Today is literally the day that we said we won't put up with a government from across the ocean telling us what to do and how to live our lives. This is the day where we celebrate the Gadsden flag, don't tread on me. This is the day where we celebrate our indomitable spirit. And yet I look around and I see it being dominated. I am sad for the United States right now. I'm sad for the country. I thought there were more people out there who believed in freedom. I thought there were more people who had courage. And I thought there were more people like me who wouldn't put up with this. I don't know what it's going to take to snap you guys out of it. I mean, they've destroyed our economy. We lost, 40 million jobs? I know we've got some of them back. We got like a couple million back, but we lost 40 to 50 million, and we got maybe like less than 10 back. This has hurt us. The fear that, and let's put the blame exactly where it needs to be. The media that continuously was trying to tell us how terrible Trump was and how bad he was. They knew he was gonna mess this up before it was even a thing. They started screaming about it. Listen, he wanted to shut down the border in January, February, and when he tried to do that, they're like, "Oh, he's a xenophobe," and then they switched, and all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, he's not xenophobe enough. He should be. He let citizens back in the country. Oh my goodness, with this thing." See, but the thing is, the disease was already here, so there was no point in keeping people out, right? Like the disease, it is highly virulent, and as we've now determined, part of that is due to gain-of-function research that was done in laboratories. So we know that this is actually a Chinese virus. It was literally manufactured in China. They're making some great stuff these days, aren't they? They're making everything and shipping it over here, and that's what they did with this virus. They made it in China in a Chinese lab, and they shipped it to the United States. I'm not sure I like that, but that's what happened. So, anyway, the point is, we now have basically a Chinese virus, which we have a pretty decent handle on the treatment, right? Like, we know how to treat this. You got chloroquine, which is actually, turns out, CNN admitted today that it actually works pretty well. It's a good thing. And then you've got oxygen instead of respirators, right? So that's one thing that we want to make sure we know. And then there are people who are going to die from this. There are, because in this world, it is a dangerous world, and people will die. And so we know that's going to happen. But you know what is happening now is they're killing the economy. They're killing freedom. The new casualties of coronavirus are now freedom and economic prosperity that we used to enjoy in this country. We used to have that. Now, I know that not everybody was prosperous, but everybody was more prosperous than they are right now, right? So like, hey, listen, if you take the average down, guess who's going to get hurt the most? People at the average and below are going to get hurt the most, because the people above the average are usually doing really well. They have money in the bank and all that kind of stuff. Most people don't have enough money to handle this. Now, I've got some other ideas for ways to do things, but I mean, this is a threat, guys. This is the end of the nation if we let it be. This is the end of freedom if we let it be. And we can't let that happen. We can't let freedom just die in the vine like this. We have to do something. We have to stop this. Now, I know a lot of people are talking about elections in November. I'm not really 100% sure that elections are the answer. I mean, here's the thing, right? We have that concept of mob rule versus republicanism, right? The democratic mob rule versus Republican rights. In a republic is governed by the rule of law. And the rule of law means that if something, we have the Constitution, which is the highest law in the land. For the rule of law, to exist, that means you have to recognize the rights of the individual, even when the mob says don't recognize the rights of the individual. And that mob right now is composed of Janet C. Long, Pat Gerard, Charlie Justice, Dave Eggers, Karen Williams Seel, and Kenneth Welch. Those men and women don't believe, they're the mob that believes your rights should be taken away. They're basically carrying pitchforks. I personally haven't been able, I was not able to buy food today at some of the places I normally go to. So, like, they're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill us. They're really just trying to get us to bend the knee. That what they want is our compliance and obedience. But that is not right. That is not what the government should be asking for from people. I don't owe obedience and allegiance to my government. I owe them nothing. I owe them absolutely nothing. Except maybe taxes and whatnot. But the Supreme Court has actually ruled on that, right? So corporations are creatures of the state. And they may owe something to the government, but I don't owe anything to the government other than just, the normal obedience of law and not murdering people and things like that. They have and here's the thing. These people don't understand the foundation of the nation, right? And this is actually not, this is the epidemic. This is the thing that people don't get. You have rights, and the rights that you have predate the foundation, and the foundation of our nation was not done to give rights to people. But the way the founders put together the nation, the way they founded this nation, was simply to recognize the rights that people have. You have those rights. We're not saying we're giving you rights. The Constitution didn't give anybody rights. They enshrined the rights in the Constitution. Now, people have come at the Constitution saying, oh, well, you had the Three-Fifths Compromise in there originally. You had this in there. You had that in there. Yeah, and it's been amended and removed. So what's your beef now? Nothing? You have no beef with it? But the thing is, they've denigrated it. And they said the thing that enshrines your rights, the thing that says the government can't do anything it wants to you, that thing is now their enemy. They hate that thing. They want to rip that thing down, tear it down, and destroy it. And they have to in order to get what they want, which is a country in which the government can literally do anything to anyone at any time. That I would not be surprised to see them bring slavery back. Think about this for a second. The 13th Amendment has this huge loophole, right? If you're convicted of a crime, they can enslave you. Now, we already have private prisons, right? So corporations are making money off of individual slaves. What if they just say, you know what? Let's just rent them out. We've got a slave here. Let's just rent this slave to a person, right? So maybe if you wanted to, you could just buy a slave from the government. Think about the revenue. Right now, they're just writing speeding tickets. How much more money would they get selling slaves? They could do this. This is like a literal thing that could happen. We have to be vigilant about freedom, or they can and will enslave as many of us as they can. That is the natural tendency, because people, it's just ignorance, right? It's ignorance. When people put down a rule and they say, hey, everybody should obey my rule, they just don't understand that that rule is not necessarily good for everybody. See, I believe in the first rule of game theory pretty strongly, and that is that everyone in a game makes moves in that game from their own perspective, right? When you're playing chess, you're making moves to win the game of chess. You're not making moves to help your opponent. Your opponent doesn't get to tell you what moves to make. Each person has this individual autonomy that they decide the moves they're going to make. And that is what has made America great. That individual autonomy, a lot of people refer to this as the free market, but it's not exactly the free market, right? Because the free market makes use of this. But this is truly just, in and of itself, it's not the free market, it's freedom that makes America great. It's individual freedom. It's more fundamental than the market itself, because the market is just a place where people exercise that freedom, and to great effect. But the freedom is the thing that has the great effect. It has that great effect in markets. It also has that great effect in other contexts. So the freedom that we are now losing is the thing that is the most important thing in this nation. The most important fundamental aspect that gives us prosperity, that gives us everything that we need, everything that we have, everything that we want, is the ability to go get it. If you don't have the ability to get what you want, you can't get what you want. It's that simple. That's what freedom really is. Freedom is that personal autonomy that you can use to go and try and make the world a better place for yourself, for your family, and achieve your goals. They're robbing us of that intentionally. They know it. They don't care because they don't understand freedom. They don't understand how crucial it is to a society. They don't understand how crucial it is to a nation. They're just ready to throw it away because it's inconvenient for a moment, because they're scared. That, to me, these people don't deserve to be in government. We need a way of saying that people like that can never be in government again. Now, we do actually kind of have that. It's called impeachment, right? So if they were impeached, they would never be able to hold public office again. And I think that each of these people should be, like, literally impeached. Now, that's more of a federal thing. I don't know what our state remedy is, but this is this is the thing that matters. Freedom is what matters. And that's what they're taking away from us right now. All right, I might try to do that again and just focus it entirely on freedom, because I think that's the thing. That's the important thing.